Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you.
On school funding, capitation, the population we are dealing with in 2025 is 3,280,182 students. Honorable Chair, first term expectation is supposed to be 50%. And the schools received 8,818 per learner. They were supposed to receive 11,122 per learner. The deficit is 2,304. In second term, Honorable Chair, the expectation for 30% per learner is 6,673, but the schools received 3,471. The balance is 3,202. Therefore, the minister should be able to explain when he says he has disbursed all the monies to school, that indeed all the monies are disbursed. In terms of the totals, what has been disbursed?
We limit ourselves to 2 questions.
But this is just the first question. Let me finish.
It's long. You finished that one.
I've jumped that bit, so let me go to the next one. To know the next one, but the same thing, school on capitation. Now, still on this capitation, in the second term, it's the longest, Honorable Chair, 14 weeks. This dispersal was 3,471 out of 6,673, which is supposed to be there. Chair, the trend has been as follows in second term, which is supposed to be 30%. That in 2022, instead of disbursing the 6,000 I've mentioned, they disbursed 4,200. In 2023, they disbursed 4,100. In 2024, they disbursed 4,500. This year, Honorable Chair, they disbursed 3,471. It's the lowest ever disbursed since this model began. But secondly, there's something happening between the Treasury and the Finance Ministry, and the Education Ministry. Though they are very close, but something is happening in between there. The monies are not reaching the school. Honorable Chair, I sat on the Mwiria Commission, which was set up by the President Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. When we created this model, we created a 22,000 per student for operations. We never created a 5,000 or 3,900, which is being deducted from these monies before it goes to schools, Honorable Chair. What is happening currently is that of the monies disbursed to schools, the ministry, for instance, in 2021, retained 1,543. In 2022, it retained 1,752. So the monies that reached the school per student, you can look in my eyes, was only 10,669. And that following year, 11,099. This year, the monies that are reaching the school are far much less than what the Mwiria Commission expected. The school system will collapse. Mwiria Commission never envisaged that out of the 20, we would deduct and send 10,000 for operations. Unless something happens, the school system will collapse. Minister for Finance says he has disbursed all the money. Could the Minister for Education say, why are you retaining the monies and sending 10,000 per student every year? Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Can we now move to the members of the committee? We start with Emase. We go in that manner, like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'll start on the status of implementation, budget implementation 24-25. If you look at that table, primary school infrastructure, secondary school infrastructure, the remarks are full disbursement of allocated funds to schools. And Chair, as early as yesterday, I just arrived from my constituency, and I know that speaks for all other constituencies. Schools have not received money for infrastructure. So if the Ministry of Finance has released money for infrastructure, then can the Minister of Education tell us why the money has not reached the respective schools? My second question, Chair, is on equity. You've told us the figures that have been allocated for infrastructure. And even for the current financial year, you're targeting 1,056 facilities for secondary schools and the other figures for primary schools. But our concern as representatives of the people, how equitable are you distributing these monies? Because we know of schools in serious, deplorable conditions, and the ministry has left the responsibility of providing infrastructure largely to NGCDF, which has limited resources to cover all these schools. So as a committee chair, we would want to see the list of all schools benefiting from infrastructure development funds. How much is going to each school, and in where are those specific schools? And if possible, the committee should be able to sample and visit a number of those schools, because it is a concern. We have schools where a classroom is divided into two, and the children are facing opposite directions. How can a teacher impart any knowledge in such conditions? Yet, huge figures have been allocated to certain specific schools in specific regions, including allocating resources to ghost schools that do not exist. And there is a question on that, and Chair, I want to request that this committee does visit all those ghost schools. We see where that money is going to. We need a response from the Minister for Education on that.
Makela,
It was here. You said we go like this.
you came early. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry. Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to commend the Minister for Treasury for the report that he has given us. Equally, I want to commend the Minister for Education. But we have serious concerns on what they have presented, especially on the financing of universities, where the National Treasury is telling us that it is urging the MDAs within the education sector to continue implementation of the recommendations put forth by the Presidential Working Party. Is the Minister aware that this House or this committee does not recognize the Presidential Working Party report, because we had asked for it for a long time, so that we can adopt, so that the House can also make it legal. So it's a document which is not adopted in this House. So we cannot be referring to a document which is not legal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Number one, on this implementation of budget, there is this project called SEKIP. It says the project received 99.6% of funding of all of allocated funds. Madam Chair, all the SEKIP projects, for example, in Baringo North and other counties in Kenya, stalled. And yet, it is indicated that they received all the funds. Why is the project stalling? And where is the balance? Secondly, Chair, is that a quick one, because I want to rush through them, is the effectiveness of chemists. Many schools are not receiving capitation equivalent to the number of students in their schools because of chemists or NEMIS. It's a big challenge, so that schools are operating on deficit. Many students who are in those schools are not getting what they are supposed to get. The other one, Chair, is that a quick one is that the TVET institutions in Kenya are almost on a verge of collapse because of lack of capitation, or about 12.5 billion shillings. If we want to transform Kenya, we enhance activate institutions to get the necessary capitation so that we'll be able to operate optimally and bring the people that will change the economic matrix of our country. There is a fear, Madam Chair, of securitization. I have seen something here that HELP wants securitization of, in their presentation that came to before this committee, they want 3 shillings in every VAT. Minister for Finance, if we go this way of securitization of every, or setting a cap for every institution, we set 7 shillings and you see how it is going in roads. Now HELP wants 3 shillings for VAT. Another group will want another certain percentage for PE. Another one will come for other percentages of collection of revenue. This will be a dangerous trend for our country, and we may not have a budget to implement for projects that are there. How far is the matching of university fund and HELP? Because they have a lot of duplication. When we visited them, it's almost doing the same things. How then can we match these institutions so that we have value for money for our country? I think that is my take.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also have 2 questions. One is on special needs. How do you recruit teachers for special schools, schools for special needs students? Because I've seen that in some schools, the teachers are not trained to handle special needs. There are teachers who teach in normal schools, but they're posted in special needs schools. Are you aware that that is going on and that you are posting wrong teachers to special schools? My second question is, there is that the CS have presented the writing off of certain debts, especially at the university level, that historic debts ought to be written off. There are lecturers who have not been paid for a long time. They've been on part-time basis. These part-timers have not been paid for a year or for quite a long time. I know a lot of them. Are you going to write off the debts, and will they be paid for what they have worked for? Professor, allow Rebecca to then you take it up, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Chair, looking at the presentations of the 2 CSS, I'm actually very proud of the fact that the 76,000 teachers have been recruited so far. You're doing very well on that side. However, as representatives of the people, Chair, I do not know who is not speaking the truth. Because when CSS tell us here that they have done 50% and 30%, and the actuals on the ground are 2 different things, then, Chair, we are left to doubt what is being said here. Chair, why is it difficult for the National Treasury to give sufficient resources equivalent to capitation amount provided in the policy documents, or just tell us that it's not possible to implement the policy documents? Chair, because we do appropriate money as per their presentations, but then when it comes to allocating these funds will not reach the schools as per the documents. So what is happening, Chair? Thank you.
Professor, then we go to Mau and Omero, and then Gesairo, Mheshimiwa Gesairo.
Thank you, Chair. I think it is good today that we have both the CS from Treasury and from the Ministry of Education, because all along we've been dealing with one, and every time one comes, throws stones to the other, and whenever another one is not there, the other one throws stones to the other. So at least now we have both of them. Question 1 is that let me use example of my constituency because it caters everywhere. It's an example. The secondary schools have received 7,888 per student from January up to now. The schools, the students are up in arms The ed teachers are playing cat and mouse because they don't know what to do in the school because suppliers are up in their arms. Everyone is up in their arms. So can the ministry now tell us where that money is? Where, if they have dispensed 50%, where is that money? Who is holding that money? Can we get the answer today? And secondly, Madam Chair, the issue of infrastructure and the building of laboratories and classrooms. How can they be constructing classrooms, empty classrooms, with no equipment, with no furniture? Most of the schools, they just have the building, and they are now getting stones and bough and wood to put them so that the students can sit on them. Can they budget for the classroom and the necessary equipment? And finally, on the examinations, is the government planning to do away with the examination waiver policy?
Thank you. Just before we go to the two honourable members, CS had asked for the list of the institution which benefited from infrastructure and low cost boarding. Now, we would like to know, as you do that, as you bring the list, please let us know how are the benefiting areas identified, and do you do periodic reviews? And then on the same issue, how much do you pay per learner?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot something. The issue of the pending bills for private universities. Can the ministry provide for us a list of all the students who benefited from government funding in private universities so that we know who we are funding? Because we have asked that list. This is the second year running, but there is no list which we have been given for private universities.
Remember, we have the CS education for much longer, so we should make sure that we ask CS Mbadi most of the questions. Yeah, but continue, please. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's a pleasure that we have the two CSs appearing today. I wish to seek some clarification on the matter of school infrastructure. CS Mbadi has talked about it. CS Ogambo has equally talked about it. And CS Ogambo, I think I must say from the onset, I think we have a challenge in your office with regard to school infrastructure. I want to say it clearly that as a committee, we oversight your state department, we oversight your ministry, and support towards TVET appears transparent. Support towards higher education appears transparent, but there's a very gray or dark area with regard to support towards the basic education. In your presentation, you did indicate that this committee did approve a budget of 1.395 billion towards school infrastructure. This committee, I believe, Bunge, through the budget office, did provide a certificate that indicated the areas that were supposed to be supported. But you are aware, when a CS, that your ministry went ahead and superimposed, for lack of a better word, names of beneficiary schools which were not initially, did not come from this Bunge. But as CS, we are aware about how schools have dilapidated infrastructure across this country. But the list that your office has delayed to submit because it has issues, we have cases whereby ghost schools have received money that were never approved by this department, by this Bunge. We have schools that have received as much as 50 million Kenya shillings that never came through this committee. For example, we talk about Bomet High School, received 50 million. Bomet High School does not exist, but you send this money through Tenwek. I wish to know how did you give Bomet High School 50 million when we have other schools that could have received that funding? We have Kamonet High School that received 50 million in your list of 1.39 billion. It never came from this office, or rather from this committee. Yet, this money is supposed to pass through some escrow school known as St. Patrick's. We have a school, for example, like Olboyo Boys, that got 20 million. Olboyo Girls gets 20 million. But as CS, let it be known to you that you oversight a ministry that is corrupt and full of cartels. You oversight a ministry that has got people that believe that only specific regions should be funded while others are left hanging. What we are aware about Bwana CS, we have a challenge with the PS who was there. But unfortunately, we have a serious cartel in the PS who has come in, because some of these things are orchestrated by none other than your accounting officer. Madam Chair, the reason why the CS has not been able to table the figures is because of these anomalies that are existing in his presentation. The CS is buying time. The CS is a good man, but is surrounded by people who have no integrity. The CS is a great man, surrounded by people who have been stealing from the government. And Chair, I wish the CS to come out clear. CS Mbadi did disperse the funds for the Ministry of Treasury, but that money landed in this Ministry of Education and got cooked up in other things. So can the CS come out clear and put it clear in black and white? What are you doing to ensure there's equity, there's fairness, and there's transparency and accountability in how public funds are disbursed to schools? But as CS, with me here, I have a list which you have refused to put before this table. But Chair, I'll be able to table that. I'll be tabling before this committee and in Bunge a list of those schools that your ministry has been able to fund that not pass through this committee. Number two.
Please, order, please. Order. Floor. Order, please. Let him finish.
Chair, what I'm speaking is not anything that it should be put to the media, Chair, and I'll be able to supply the list so that the ministry people can know that we have thieves who are stealing money in the ministry meant for schools. Chair, there's no logic why we should pump money in a Maram Road. Let's say we have distribution in this country whereby money has been put on Maram Roads of 10 million, Chair. Yet it is so difficult to provide 2 million shillings for a school that is so dilapidated when kids are learning, kids are sitting on stones, kids are sitting on logs in schools. Yet we can afford to change this money, Chair, and support things that not really add value to this country.
Okay, thank you.
Number two, Chair, that was my first question.
Your question is long.
Yeah, it is long because...
Allow him to speak. Allow him to speak.
Chair, I speak this because let it be known that we are aware of what is happening, Chair. We have been silent for too long. This committee has been approving budgets, but these budgets are changed. Time has come that that should stop. CS Mbadi, you're a good guy, a good man, and a professional. Mbadi and I are members of the same profession, Bwana Chair. And I think as an expert who went to the ministry to try and bring some sanity, we may have changed the top. But beneath him, we have issues. Beneath him, we are cartels that wish to know how CS Mbadi is moving in to ensure that some of your officers can actually be accountable and be truthful to the people of Kenya. We have a challenge, CS Mbadi. We have a challenge, including your peers. I have nothing to lose here, including your peers.
Yes,
we have a challenge. We have a challenge. Here, let me speak it because I'm speaking on behalf of many people.
Let's not accuse people who cannot defend themselves here.
Chair,
No, let the members speak.
Orero, please, order.
Yes, I think, Chair, I've been in this committee for far too long, and I know too much that some maybe may not be aware about. Number two, CS Mbadi, during budget preparations, your office has been diligent enough to send an officer to represent your ministry whenever we have budgets. But that officer who comes from your ministry to stand in is always clueless. The officer you sent appears not to know what's supposed to do, Bwana Chair, Bwana CS Mbadi. One time we sent him away. He came back this year and he had not improved. I wish to know, honestly, do you really support your technical staff who are supposed not to support the State Department? Because the officers you sent to this committee, sometimes one wonders where they came from. Thank you.
Let's allow